Well, Glasgow is most definitely blue tonight, thanks to our phenomenal Rangers women's team winning their semi-final tonight. We'll have a bit of news on that. Obviously, news about Alex Lowry having his loan cancelled by Hearts and him returning to Rangers. Is this the start of his Rangers career, or is this merely a stopping point as he heads out somewhere else? We've got news, obviously, about another Rangers youngster who's gone out on loan, very promising youngster who has gone off. We've got also, as well, a little bit of worry about the game taking place tomorrow. Will it go ahead or will it be called off? Discussions around that as well. Well, and any more transfer news that there's swilling. I think that's the right word at the moment, swilling around. I think that's probably about right for it. Like a pigsty, a pig's trough, isn't it, of news with the media out there getting their snouts well and truly in the trough to find out all the information that's going on. Well, welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. Thank you for your phenomenal response yesterday. Again, apologies that some absolute arsehole decided to do what they did to the channel. Hopefully, we've unblocked everybody now. Obviously, if you don't know, I'm your host, Owen David. I bring you everyday news. I bring you free everyday news. And a reminder as well, it's not just here on YouTube. You can find us all over the place. And that key reminder there, no Patreon, no paywall here. It's free. We are on Twitter or X at GRN1872. We are on Instagram, Glasgow Rangers Nation. We also have a brand new Facebook page. More of that to come, Glasgow Rangers Nation. A TikTok, or TikTok, as it says there, Glasgow Rangers Nation. We're on Threads. And you can also email the channel as well. There is our email address scrolling along the bottom. Well, where to start tonight? Well, I think there's only one place to start tonight, and that is the fantastic efforts of Rangers women with their victory tonight over that lot from across the city. And what was obviously a very keenly fought game. Rangers are now Sky Sports Cup finalist. Dramatic end to the match, obviously, with Rio Hardy scoring a penalty. Yes, those three words that cause a huge implosion across the city. Penalty to Rangers to win it 3-2 tonight. Phenomenal performance by the girls. Just absolutely, just got to say, girls, it was phenomenal. Absolutely unbelievably impressed with the performance tonight. The battling, this team spirit, the way you put yourselves about, the way you play tonight was absolutely brilliant. You've got to admire it. And I know that Jo Potter, Rangers women's coach, could not stop smiling in her post-match interview. Absolutely superb. So, three goals from the girls tonight in the game. Obviously, Rio Hardy getting that winner with that penalty, absolutely superb with those three words, like I said, that caused the implosion across the city. Kirsty McLean also getting a goal when she made it 2-1 before Rangers obviously let Celtic back into the game at 2-2. And the scoring was opened by Catherine Hill when she equalised to make it 1-1. But obviously, in the end, Rio Hardy's penalty proving decisive. So Hill, McLean, and Hardy getting the goals. Girls, absolutely fantastic, absolutely superb. We are so proud of you, and you've certainly made Glasgow blue tonight. Well, let's hope the men can follow in that tomorrow and carry on following in the tradition of how women are doing this season and really kicking on in the second half of the season, which hopefully begins tomorrow. However, there are some doubts over the game. This was released earlier on X by Rangers Football Club and by the Scottish Gas Scottish Cup. Supporters are advised there will be a 1 p.m. pitch inspection ahead of tomorrow's match. Rangers FC will communicate the outcome of the inspection as soon as possible afterwards. As it says on the Scottish Gas Scottish Cup X page, it says fourth round pitch inspection. There'll be a pitch inspection at Dumbarton Stadium tomorrow at 1 p.m. ahead of Dumbarton FC at Rangers against Rangers FC in the at Scottish Gas Men's Scottish Cup fourth round. So there is worry that the pitch will be waterlogged. It will be in a horrible state. Now, let's face it, that pitch itself is a bog. It is a horrible pitch anyway. And news tonight, obviously, that rain will continue through the night. There are yellow weather warnings in place as well for a lot of the UK for wind and rain. There is certainly a high possibility the game could be called off. And look, it would be far from ideal. I mean, look, no matter what, even if the pitch takes a load more rain, it's going to be like a bog anyway. It's an awful pitch at the best of times. So whether you play that game tomorrow or you play that game in a week or 2 weeks' time, it doesn't really matter. The pitch is going to be a state anyway. It's going to be a tough game from that aspect, from the pitch side of things. Certainly Dumbarton should not be a tough game. They sit near the bottom of the Scottish Second Division. They lost recently to Bonnyrigg Rose. They're not a good team at all. Also, as well, apparently Neil Lennon's son has just gone on loan there from St Mirren, and their goalkeeper, their first choice goalkeeper, won't be able to play tomorrow. Why? Because he's a Rangers player, so obviously he can't play against his parent club. I think no matter what, the game tomorrow, it obviously is in jeopardy with the weather. Let's face it. It is a horrible weather that is going around at this moment in time. But like I said, does it matter given the fact pitch is going to be a state anyway? I think obviously that puts an interesting questions into the mind of Philippe Clement. How strong do you go into the game today? How much do you push this in terms of that game? You look at it and you think, well, do we go out with our strongest possible lineup, but then are we risking injuries to players, especially those players like Nicholas Raskin who've just returned from injury? At the end of the day, we do take every single game super seriously. That is the Philippe Clement way, isn't it? He's always been like that since he's come to the club. Whether we're playing Dumbarton, Celtic, Real Betis, Bayern Munich, whoever you're playing, you get the feeling that the game will be taken with the same level of intensity by Philippe Clement. So it doesn't really matter. But there is a risk, obviously, playing on a pitch like that, and with the greatest respect to it, against a team like that you do risk injuries to a lot of your first team players. So, where do we balance this? Personally, I think we need a mixture out there today, against Dumbarton. I think, if the game does go ahead, you do have some experience out there. But also, I think, some of the youth products need to have a chance to play. Some of the squad players as well, you use them. I mean, let's face it. Honestly, let's face it. If you put the likes of Bailey Rice, Cole McKinnon, Leon King, even Adam Devine into that team tomorrow, and they can't beat Dumbarton, then realistically, those guys have no future as Rangers players. I think, that's not too harsh to say. As Rangers players, you have that expectation, obviously, on you that you are going to be successful, that you are going to win, that you're going to be the best in Scotland at least, and obviously be successful in Europe. But you've got to prove it first, and if you can't overcome Dumbarton, you do have some serious problems. So, it's an interesting selection dilemma for Philippe Clement, really is. And obviously, Philippe Clement talked about that in his press conference. Then he also spoke about he also in a way criticised as well, didn't he, the previous regimes at the club, and we'll talk about that shortly here on this video. But look, this game today, if it goes ahead, it should hopefully be not a test, really. It shouldn't be. Yes, I know that every non-league team, or not non-league, every lower league team, when it comes up against Rangers, comes up against that lot from across the city, comes up against any Premier League team, is going to raise its game. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it? It's their cup final. It's a massive game for them. It's a huge game for them. When the old firm come to town, it's massive. It is huge. Dumbarton will raise their game. Of course they will. But we should have more than enough, no matter who plays, to put Dumbarton to the sword. Now, obviously, one player who won't be available but is returning to Rangers is Alex Lowry. Now, Alex Lowry was sent out on loan at the start of the season to Hearts, and it was obviously hoped that he would head to Hearts, he would have a full season there, and that they would aid in his development as a player. Alex has always been a very highly thought of player, someone who, there are high aspirations for, in the future, that he can be a, fundamental part of Rangers' future. Now, according to reports, it was Hearts that cancelled Lowry's loan spell, and as yet, no real reasoning behind that. There was no kind of indication as to why they were cancelling Alex Lowry's loan. It has not been made clear in the media. Look, it isn't going to be. They're not going to come out and say anything. I think it's something we'll never get to know. It will stay very much behind the behind closed doors. In terms of what has been said by Hearts, this was what came out. It was Stephen Naismith spoke to Hearts website, and he said, "We took the decision to end the loan with Alex's best interest in mind. There is absolutely no doubting Alex's talent as a player, and he's shown as in periods where he's capable of doing on the pitch. But with the competition for places fierce in our squad, he's probably not going to get the game time that would allow him to develop further, which is one of the reasons he was here in the first place. I have no doubt he'll go on to become a top player. He's a great boy, and we thank him for all his efforts at Hearts and wish him well in the future." Now, that's interesting. That is interesting, isn't it? Obviously, Stephen Naismith rating Alex Lowry very highly, thinking that he's going to go on to be a top player. But he spells out the reasons kind of been that he wouldn't get the game time at Hearts. And when you send a player out on loan, the idea is to get them game time. The idea is for them to play regular first team football, to go out there and obviously develop. That is why you send your players out on loan to smaller clubs than yours. Now, there was a concern, obviously, that if he's not good enough to get in the Hearts team, then is he good enough ever to play for Rangers? Then you've got to counterbalance that with the fact that he's still a young lad. He's still learning the game. So I think, theoretically, the indication seems to be from Rangers that he will return, but he will not be put into Philippe Clement's first team squad plans or B team plans. It very well won't be a case that Rangers will be seeking to send him out on loan somewhere else. Now, I personally think somewhere down south might be a good idea, send him past the English Championship, which is obviously, has the hurly-burly and the physicality of the Scottish Premier League there. And it is a fairly good standard, that if he was to go to one of the top half clubs down there, you could probably he would get a decent footballing education and really hopefully would start to see the best of him again. So it does look unlikely that he'll feature at all in the Rangers squad. Now, one player who is heading out on loan from Ibrox, another very promising young player, Aaron Lyle, has today joined Airdrieonians on loan until the end of the season. Obviously, Aaron Lyle, again, another very, very talented youngster, someone who is very highly thought of within the Rangers youth setup. Now, look, I think I'm not speaking out of term when I say that we haven't really used our young players properly, or we haven't given our young players a massive crack of the whip here at the club. Yes, Ross McCausland broke through. Yes, Robbie McCrory got games last season, but theoretically and realistically, these guys have not had the opportunities to really play, to really impress, at the highest level. I mean, you take, for example, Aaron Lyle, who's only made 3 appearances this season, all in the Challenge Cup. So obviously not first team again. So, I heard it being discussed on the Rabble podcast last night, and the Rabble's brilliant. And they were talking about the fact that surely these players are good enough to at least be squad players. They don't have to come in and be Lionel Messi or the same level as Ross McCausland. I mean, no, McCausland's not Messi, but or the same standard as someone like, for example, Abdallah Sima. We're not expecting that, but what we're at least expecting them to come in and be able to do a job. Can they at least come on and play a part against Ross County, against Livy, against St Johnstone? Can they play a part in the Scottish Cup? Can they be part of our squad? That's what we need to see from these young players going forward. It really is. You cannot have a youth system that you are paying so much money for and it be producing absolutely nothing. Nathan Patterson, Billy Gilmore, yes, understand, brilliant, fantastic, but they've obviously gone on to play for other clubs. Yes, they've raised some money for us. There's young players now. Ross McCausland obviously is having some success. Zach Lovelace. Obviously, Lovelace didn't come through our youth system. He was signed for Millwall. Bailey Rice also signed for Motherwell. So you've got to hope that we start to see some players that have actually come through our youth system to actually have an effect on the first team. And that's something that I really want to start to see. Aaron Lyle is another person who was very highly thought of and very highly rated. So look, hopefully, he will be somebody who can play a part in the future. Now, obviously, moving on, the transfer situation is what it is. Philippe Clement spoke again today. He talked about the fact that yet again that the club are working exceptionally hard to try and bring players in. That the people working around the clock, etc., but still no news about any new signings. So it does slightly worry me. But one of the things that Philippe Clement said that was really interesting today was this. He said, "We are not the most wealthy club in the world. This season, to have 5 players out of contract is a crazy situation." Clement's right. The whole look, we are not a rich club. We are not a club that generates a huge amount of income revenue streams from outside ticketing, from outside player sales. At the end of the day, getting players in, selling players on is the best way to generate income for us. We don't have a monster TV deal like the EPL or even like the English Championship. We don't have the revenue funding streams that they do down south. That certainly would allow us to compete with English clubs, to sign players, and to stop English clubs from stealing the best players out of our academies. We do need a better system, and I think Philippe Clement is right to criticise previous regimes for allowing contracts to run down. I mean, if you think about last season, we lost Morelos, we lost Helander, we lost Scotty Arfield, we lost Ryan Kent. McGregor retired, but you look at those 4 players in particular. You're looking at a substantial a number of millions of pounds just heading out the door for absolutely nothing. And again, this summer there is a risk again that could happen. McLaughlin, Roof, Lundstrom, Barisic, just to name but 4 that are could head out the door again, meaning that we get nothing in, we lose all that money. You look at the situation. In past times, you could have raised 10 million for Kent, 16 million for Morelos. That's 26 million pounds. Say 3-4 million for Arfield, 30 million. So perhaps another 2-3 million for Helander, 33 million. Coming into this summer, again, you still got Barisic under contract. You allow him to be sold, say 3-4 million. You're generating nearly 40 million pounds in player sales revenue, money that can be reinvested into the squad. And Philippe Clement is absolutely correct in his assessment that it's ridiculous that we're in a situation that these players have been allowed to run their contracts down. He clearly wants a better run club, a better, clearer transfer strategy, a better, clearer contract strategy. And that's something I'm sure that he is impressing on James Bisgrove, on Craig Robertson, on Niels Koppen, on John Bennett to a lesser extent, to get that sorted so that we're never, ever going into a situation where a player is entering the last 12 months of his contract and is in the power position that can say to clubs in January, no, I'm not interested in joining you now. No, I'm not going to allow Rangers to sell me. I'm going to wait till the summer because I will get all the money. That's where we are at the moment, and that's what is holding the club back. If we want money to invest in players, we need to sell players. That is unfortunately the world we do live in. And look, whilst I would love to hang on to all our finest players and never have to sell, that realistically is not going to happen. You look across the city, they sell Jota for 25 million. They may be selling O'Reilly as well in this transfer window. They're generating a lot of money, which can then be returned into their playing squad, money that we have not generated as of yet. You look at the transfer deals that have gone through. Yes, Kamara 5 million, Sakala 3 million, Cholak 1.5 million. Yes, it offset what Michael Beale spent, but again, it was I think it was about 2.85 or 3 or 4 million maybe net loss on the transfer deals. So over this last summer. So again, we've got to be generating income. We've got to be bringing in more income, especially if we're going to be bringing in players, paying those slightly higher fees to really attract that top talent to the club, which we all want, which we all know we need going forward if we're going to return to a position of dominance in Scotland. So that's where we're up to, guys. That is the situation. Look, I'd love to know your thoughts on the stories you've covered this morning on Match Day News. Also, a reminder, if you're on Facebook and you are a Rangers fan, check out Glasgow Rangers Nation. It's a page, guys. Obviously more controlled, less spamming going on. So obviously ask to join that. You will be allowed to join that. So please come and follow us on Facebook. Like I said, all the social media platforms we are on are scrolling along the bottom of the page and have been throughout the entire video. Okay, guys, let's hope the game goes ahead today. I really don't want a fixture pile up. That's what that could cause. It could cause a situation where we're playing, again, more games in a series of days, and we don't need to be, when we could be resting the players. We do need to hopefully ensure this game goes ahead today. And if it does, we'll be live, obviously doing the live watch along here on the channel at 5:30. Okay, thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. And as always, on the way out, if you can do me 2 favors. Number 1, smash the like. It does help the video. And number 2, always remember, please never forget, we are the people.